Elon Musk, the founder of Tesla and Spacex, is famous for his groundbreaking inventions and controversial statements. However, few people know that beneath the persona of a tech billionaire, Elon carries with him profound questions about society and humanity. One day, Elon decided to carry out a social experiment that no one could have expected. Instead of wearing his usual sharp suits, he donned an old, worn-out jacket, faded jeans, and a comically fake beard with a rough mustache. To complete the disguise, he wore a beanie that covered his head, creating a completely different image from the wealthy tech mogul everyone knew. The tattered clothes and worn shoes, aged by time, were completely out of place for someone with a net worth of billions of dollars. Elon's plan was simple but challenging. He wanted to test how people would treat someone who was not prominent, someone without clear social status. He decided to visit Brew Haven, a modest cafe located in the heart of a lively neighborhood. This was the perfect spot to conduct his experiment without drawing too much attention. Although he had mentally prepared himself, Elon couldn't help but feel a sense of nervousness. Would society treat everyone equally? Or would only those with wealth and fame be respected? Elon stood in front of Brew Haven, feeling the shift as he was no longer a famous figure. The shiny glass door reflected his image in the unfamiliar attire. Staring into the mirror, he wondered if this was how society viewed all those who were nothing special. Although the people around him couldn't recognize him, Elon felt something very unique. While he was always accustomed to admiration and respect from others, now he found himself immersed in a world without stage lights or attention. This feeling was strange, but it also allowed him to experience something profoundly different from what he was used to. The cafe wasn't a high-end brand or particularly renowned, but with its cozy atmosphere and delicious drinks, it attracted a loyal group of regulars. Elon knew this was the perfect place for his experiment, where people who didn't know him would treat him like any other person. He stepped into the cafe, taking a deep breath to savor the aroma of freshly ground coffee and baked pastries. The image reflected in the glass door was completely different from what he was used to seeing. He was no longer Elon Musk, the founder of famous tech companies. He was just an ordinary man, with nothing special about him except a payment card in his pocket. As soon as Elon approached the door, a large man in a security uniform stepped directly in front of him. Rick, the security guard, looked Elon up and down, his cold eyes filled with suspicion. "Hey, not everyone can just walk in here," Rick said, his voice stern and completely lacking in friendliness. Elon didn't let Rick's attitude fluster him. In fact, he had prepared himself for this. "I just want to grab a cup of coffee," Elon replied calmly, pulling a crumpled wad of cash from his jacket pocket to show he wasn't begging for handouts. Rick still didn't seem ready to ease up. "What do you want here?" he asked, his gaze never leaving Elon. "I just want a cappuccino," Elon answered, maintaining his composure but with a hint of firmness in his voice. "I have money to pay for it." Rick stared at Elon for a moment, then glanced over toward the coffee counter. It seemed like he felt he had no choice but to step aside. After a brief silence, Rick stepped back, muttering something under his breath before opening the door for Elon to enter. Elon felt a slight sense of relief as he passed through the door, but also something unsettling about not being welcomed like the other customers. As Elon stepped into the cafe, the atmosphere of Brew Haven remained unchanged. Warm lighting, the soft chatter of customers, and the smell of freshly brewed coffee. However, in his outfit, Elon felt like an outsider. No one recognized him, and this invisibility only made him more acutely aware of the social divisions around him. Despite the lack of greetings or attention, Elon felt an odd sense of comfort. Perhaps this was the feeling that many people had to endure every day, being judged by their appearance or circumstances. He decided to find a seat near the window, where he could observe everything. Elon took out his phone but didn't really pay attention to it. Instead, he watched the people around him, feeling the glances that passed over him without ever stopping. A man in an expensive coat entered, and immediately a barista stood up to greet him warmly. Elon couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness as he thought about the stark contrast between that man and himself. Elon sat silently, observing the cafe for a while, until he decided to step up to the counter to order a cappuccino, unaware that the man standing before her was Elon Musk. The two baristas at the counter still treated him very differently. Ethan, a young man working behind the counter, quickly noticed Elon and flashed a bright, welcoming smile. "Hello, what can I get for you?" Ethan asked, his tone soft and friendly. Meanwhile, Cindy, the woman standing next to him, paid no attention to Elon. She glanced at him impatiently and even sighed audibly. "This is unbelievable," Cindy muttered just loud enough for Elon to hear. He didn't react angrily, though. He simply looked at her for a moment before turning to Ethan, who was still being very cordial. "Cappuccino," Elon said firmly. Ethan immediately began preparing the drink without hesitation, while Cindy, though standing right there, seemed completely uninterested and continued making unprofessional gestures. Elon could clearly feel the difference between Ethan's genuine attentiveness and Cindy's disrespectful attitude. After receiving his cappuccino from Ethan, Elon sat back in a corner of the cafe, where he could look outside and observe everything around him. The coffee was hot and flavorful, but it couldn't erase the sense of loneliness within him. This wasn't the first time he had felt this way, but this time, everything felt different. Elon gazed at the crowd, where unspoken stories were unfolding every day. There were people dressed in suits, always receiving a warm welcome from those around them. But today, he was not one of them. Elon wasn't invisible, but today, he was experiencing that invisibility vividly. The scene of a middle-aged woman who had just walked in and was trying to understand the menu caught Elon's attention. She asked a simple question about which coffee might suit her taste. But Cindy, the barista, had no patience for her. She shook her head and abruptly told the woman she should choose something simpler. "Don't bother me with questions like that," Cindy said, her tone harsh and entirely disrespectful. Elon felt a pang of sorrow, not for the woman, but for himself. Once again, discrimination appeared in its clearest form. People like Cindy might not realize that their words and actions were hurting others, that the absence of respect and goodwill could create an invisible barrier between people. Elon thought about himself and wondered if others could see the pain in his eyes, even though he never showed his emotions. Although most of the time in the cafe passed in silence, Elon couldn't help but notice the stark contrast between the way Ethan and Cindy treated the customers. Ethan, despite being just a regular barista, always maintained a cheerful and sincere attitude. He didn't just serve coffee. He created a pleasant atmosphere for those around him. To Elon, Ethan was one of the rare people in this society. He naturally embodied respect and kindness. On the other hand, Cindy seemed to lack patience with everyone she encountered. It seemed as though she saw every customer as an inconvenience. This attitude was most evident when she served a group of young people who asked to change their drinks because they didn't like the coffee's flavor. Instead of helping, she berated them, telling them not to make strange requests. Elon observed calmly, but frustration began to build inside him. The difference between these two was a lesson in fairness and respect. And it was precisely that which pushed him to do something, not just for Ethan, but for all people like him. An hour passed, and Elon felt that he had spent enough time observing and experiencing everything. Even after finishing his coffee, he didn't rush to leave. This cafe might just be a small spot in the city, but here, he saw the truth about society, the way people treated each other, the way they judged others based on appearances and surface-level factors. Elon decided he wouldn't leave quietly. He wanted to challenge what he called fairness in this world. They didn't know who he was, and they never would, at least not right now. But he wanted them to know this respect and kindness were not givens. They had to be given, and sometimes, it came from the people you least expected. Elon stood up and walked toward the counter. Ethan was wiping down a table, while Cindy was still fiddling with her phone. Elon looked at Ethan, smiled, and began to strike up a conversation. "Ethan, I want to say something," Elon began, causing Ethan to startle and look up at him. "Thank you for your attitude. You're a good person. And very likable." Ethan looked at him in surprise, unsure of how to respond. "Thank you, but I'm just doing my job," he said modestly. Elon smiled and pulled a shiny business card from his jacket pocket. On it was his name, Elon Musk, and the contact number for Tesla's HR department. "You deserve a better opportunity. Call this number tomorrow. I think you'll do well in a place that truly values your talent." Ethan couldn't believe his eyes. He looked at the business card in his hand, then up at Elon's face, now beaming with a warm smile. "Is this real?" Ethan asked, his voice trembling. "Absolutely, Ethan. You have potential, and I believe you'll go far." While Ethan was still in disbelief, Cindy, who had been ignoring the conversation, glanced at Elon and hesitantly asked, "What's this about? He's just a coffee shop employee. Why would you want to help him?" Elon turned to look at Cindy, his expression stern. "Cindy, sometimes we need to learn to see people through kindness and respect, not through appearances." The next day, Ethan nervously picked up the phone and dialed the number on Elon's business card. His nerves were on edge, unable to believe that his life could change with just one phone call. When the HR representative at Tesla confirmed the interview, Ethan felt a surge of mixed emotions. Could he really do this? Could his dream truly come true? The day of the interview arrived, and Ethan showed up at Tesla in his simple outfit. He felt like an outsider, standing in front of the modern buildings where everyone else wore sharp suits. However, when the interview began, he confidently shared his dreams and passion for the automotive industry, especially in using technology to change the world. 2 days later, Elon called Ethan to inform him that he had been accepted into Tesla. "Welcome to our team," Elon said. Ethan could hardly believe his ears. His dream had come true. He had become part of Tesla, a company not only famous but also a symbol of technological change. A few days after landing the job at Tesla, Ethan began to feel the noticeable changes in his life. A mix of excitement and anxiety accompanied him as he started to familiarize himself with the new environment. Tesla was unlike any place he had worked before. Everything was professional, modern, and challenging. He felt that he was constantly striving to meet his colleagues' expectations. But at the same time, he also sensed their support and encouragement. In the first few days, Ethan felt like a child entering school. Every day, he learned something new about technology and the creative projects Tesla was pursuing. He kept detailed notes on the lessons and valuable experiences, understanding that this was a rare opportunity not everyone could achieve. As for his family, they too noticed the big change in Ethan. He no longer had to worry about financial issues or finding a stable job. His entire family, especially his mother, was endlessly grateful to Elon for giving their son such an opportunity. Though no one knew exactly what had happened between Ethan and Elon Musk, the result was clear. A new door had opened for Ethan, a chance for him to turn his life around. One evening, as the family gathered around the dinner table, Ethan looked at his mother and father with a grateful gaze. "We'll have a better life now. Mom and Dad won't have to worry about money anymore. Thank you for always supporting me." Since joining Tesla, Ethan had made remarkable progress. He became involved in an important project related to developing a new generation of electric vehicles. The work was far from simple, but his passion and relentless effort helped him prove his worth in this challenging environment. Once, while working with the design team, Ethan proposed a new idea on how to optimize the battery performance for electric cars. Although his idea was initially met with skepticism, when the tests yielded promising results, it attracted the attention of senior leadership. Elon Musk, who had been directly following the project, also recognized Ethan's potential. "You're a real talent," Elon praised him, making Ethan feel immensely proud. But for Ethan, success wasn't just about praise or job titles. What mattered most was that he had found a new purpose in life. He didn't just want to work at Tesla. He wanted to contribute to the development of the automotive industry, especially electric vehicles, an area he believed would change the world. In a team meeting, Elon spoke about the importance of innovation at Tesla. "We're not just making cars. We're making cars that will change the future," he said, his eyes lighting up. This only reinforced Ethan's belief in the work he was doing. Although his career at Tesla was thriving, Ethan couldn't completely forget his past. He remembered the days working at Brew Haven, the coffee shop where he had to face both hardship and discrimination. The memories of Cindy and her indifferent attitude still lingered in his mind, a constant reminder of what he had overcome. Though he couldn't change the past, Ethan felt he had grown so much. He was no longer the naive and insecure young man he once was. During his time working at Tesla, he realized that the struggles and obstacles he had faced had actually made him tougher, more patient, and more determined. The lesson about respect and kindness that Elon had taught him was not just a career lesson, but a life lesson. One afternoon, during a break, Ethan called his mother and shared his experiences at Tesla. "Mom, I can't believe I've made it here. Those years, they're no longer a part of me, but they've been the driving force that helped me rise." While Ethan was thriving in his new job, Cindy's life was not going as smoothly. After displaying disrespectful behavior toward customers, including her unreasonable actions toward Ethan, she was transferred to another branch. However, this change did not make her any better. Cindy's rude behavior caused her to lose the respect of both her colleagues and customers. Cindy couldn't understand why she was being treated this way. "I'm just doing my job," she said. But no one believed that explanation. Cindy couldn't see that it was her attitude that had caused her to be ostracized. It wasn't because she lacked talent, but because she didn't know how to treat people. At an industry seminar, Cindy ran into Elon by chance. She felt embarrassed, but couldn't help but notice how he stood there, with an understanding and calm look in his eyes. Elon looked at her, said nothing, and then gently remarked, "Sometimes, people need to learn how to treat each other well, not just for personal gain, but because it's the right thing to do." Ethan's life had completely changed since he met Elon Musk. But that didn't mean his journey had come to an end. Every day at Tesla was an opportunity for him to learn and grow. He still remembered Brew Haven and the important lessons it had taught him. But now, he was no longer the young man struggling with hardship. He was part of the creative team at Tesla, and everything he had gone through had made him stronger than ever. One evening, as he passed by Brew Haven, Ethan stopped for a moment. The coffee shop was still the same, but he realized that he had changed. He thought back to the early days with Elon, the surprise of being recognized by someone like him. "I will never forget this," Ethan whispered to himself. He continued on his path, not just with a new job, but with a heart full of gratitude and respect for those who had helped him, especially Elon Musk. His steps now were no longer those of an ordinary worker, but of someone with a mission to change the world.